Bryan Johnson, who has created what's called the Blueprint Longevity Protocol.
Yeah.
He's become somewhat well known for being engaging in this very expensive, sophisticated form of, I don't know if this is biohacking. I'm not really sure what you would call this, but he's basically trying to extend his longevity. He claims to be the most tested man in history about different dimensions of his well-being. And he's getting a lot of attention. And I think you said he's open sourcing some of this. So maybe some people are following his protocol. He might even be monetizing
source,
it.
Yeah.
So what are your views on, I guess, longevity protocols in general, and Bryan Johnson more specifically?
Yeah. So this is interesting. John Speakman, whose research I mentioned earlier about decline in basal metabolism, has also done research looking at metabolic rates. And what he's found is that across species, dogs, mice, and humans, higher metabolic rates are associated with longevity. And this kind of makes sense when you think about it. If you're able to convert more fuel into energy, your metabolism works better. Your engine works better. You know, you have more currency on the back end.
Yeah.
That makes sense that you would live longer, because that's really one of the foundational things of life. You have to be able to turn,
basically, right?
That is life.
Yeah.
It's turning food into energy.
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah.
So if you can do that better, you're going to be healthier. And people think, no, if I turn more food into energy, or if I make more energy, I'm going to get fat. And that's the opposite. You know, people that are obese can't turn the food into energy. They store the fuel, right? They store the macronutrients. You store the carbohydrates. You store the fat. If you were converting that fat into ATP, you wouldn't be obese. So the problem is not that you have extra energy or extra ATP. It's that you couldn't make the ATP. What bothers me a little bit about this blueprint longevity approach, and I think Bryan is a really sincere, interesting person, but I don't think he's been challenged enough about his actual protocol. What bothers me about his approach is it pretty clearly lessens your ability to do those things and is negative from an energetic standpoint. How do I know that? He has told us that his body temperature is 96.6. Normal body temperature is 98.6. So he's 2 degrees cold, which is pretty directly linked to thyroid activity, and it's linked to metabolic rates. Because John Speakman, as we said, has also noted that basal body temperature is declining in humans because our basal metabolism is going down. So your basal metabolism goes down, your body temperature goes down, you're not making energy as efficiently as you could. This is all part of the same continuum. So why is Bryan Johnson's body temperature going down? Because he's practicing caloric restriction, because he's limiting protein, because he's fasting, connected with the caloric restriction, and I think because he's limiting carbohydrates in some sense. Connected with this, he's also losing weight to some extent. I think his weight might have stabilized now, but his thyroid is impaired, so he must take a thyroid hormone to be euthyroid. He says he's been on thyroid for 20 plus years, but if he did have a thyroid that worked before he did this protocol, he would need to take a thyroid hormone now. He's admitted that he needs to take testosterone, so his sex hormones are going down. It's just the same story, right? And a lot of it mimics the story that I had when I was in ketosis and limiting the abundance signals coming from carbohydrates. He's even more intense doing caloric restriction and all these things. So his body temperature is low. His sex hormones are declining. And I think that visibly he's doing things that are hiding the fact that he would not look healthy if we're not doing those things. So he's open about these things. He's very candid, which I appreciate. But he's also spending thousands of dollars a month on cosmetic treatments for his skin. And I don't know how often he does it, but I would say at least quarterly, he gets fat injections into his face. And the reason he's doing that is because when you're calorie restricting to the degree that he is, he would become gaunt. And I think that, to me, this is a little disingenuous. Again, I appreciate him as a human. I've emailed with him. I think he's very intentional. I don't think he's intending to mislead people, but this does strike me as disingenuous, that like he's spending thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars every month to look differently than the way that his body would normally look. And as humans, I don't think enough people are consuming all of his content to understand the lengths to which he is going to actually physically look younger. He's also using treatments in his hair. He claims to not be dyeing his hair, but he's clearly dyeing his hair in some way, and he's doing, Tixel treatments and other, I don't even know, these light treatments on the face and things to make himself look younger. And we're humans, right? Main thing we're going to see about someone is, does he look young? Well, his face looks young. It looks younger than it could. But again, like, it's kind of in some ways augmented, and he's literally injecting things into his face like fat. So his face is not going, and that's not supposition. He's posted about that. But again, my concern is that his protocol is open source, and I think people will do it and be harmed. And then the other thing that kind of bothers me is that when I've emailed with him, he said he was not open to, I think he said, tribal debate. He's basically unwilling to defend the scientific basis of his blueprint protocol: a vegan diet, a calorie-restricted diet, a intermittent fasting regimen.
It is vegan as well. He's no meat.
It is vegan, yeah. It's a vegan.
I didn't know that. Wow.
It's a calorie-restricted vegan diet practiced in a constricted feeding window.
Yeah.
And the other piece of the equation is that he's taking 111 pills per day. So he's taking 60 supplements. And interestingly, a lot of the supplements he's taking are compounds that have been associated with longevity that are found in meat, right? He takes creatine, he takes vitamin B12, he takes vitamin K2, and he takes taurine. He also takes alpha-ketoglutarate. All of these compounds occur in meat. Many of those compounds occur exclusively in animal foods.
Yeah.
So I think that the whole idea, there's so many things that are kind of questionable about it that I would just love to have respectful conversation with him regarding, but he's unwilling to do that. He's unwilling to have actual scientific conversation about the protocol. And he kind of bases all of the repute of his approach on the fact that he's testing his organs and they're aging backwards or something, which is not really true, because just because you have a VO2 max doesn't mean that's going to affect you have a good VO2 max doesn't mean that that's going to affect your longevity. Yes, it helps, but this is not the same as aging backwards. You can't just test your heart and your ears and your eyes and say, see, I'm anti-aging my organs. Like, getting healthier in general, cutting out processed food will improve the health of his organs, but that doesn't mean he's going to live a long time. The other thing that he does is this Dunedin Pace aging score, and that's essentially it. Because really, we don't have any way to predict how long we're going to live as humans. And to imagine or to suggest that a not entirely validated rate of aging score means that your protocol is unquestionable or infallible, which is kind of the position it seems like it's in, that rubs me the wrong way. And for what it's worth, there are a lot of people in the health space, myself included, that have achieved Dunedin Pace aging scores that are essentially the same as his, with protocols that are completely different. I eat tons of meat and I eat tons of carbohydrates and I don't fast and I don't have an eating window and I go in the sun. And I don't take 60 supplements, Right now I take a methylated B vitamin and creatine. That's it. Sometimes I take desiccated organs from hardened soil. So there are lots of ways to achieve this. And I think at fundamental level, we have to admit that pace of aging scores are interesting, but they're just they're nascent, they're in their infancy. They're not fully validated. We don't really know what this means. And I think that what he's doing is interesting. And I don't think the general public is educated enough about science to understand how it could be misleading and potentially harmful. Because, calorie restriction, right? You're declining sex hormones, affecting fertility, definitely going to affect females' menstrual cycles, increasing stress hormones, lowering body temperature, going in the face. It doesn't, all of the research doesn't jive with me. And that makes me think there's something wrong here. There's something wrong.
It's, kind of back to the theme we just touched on, where there is a certain danger at taking things at face value, right? Whether you're thinking calories in, calories out, or dollars in, dollars out, or even this, where he's literally face value in this case, right? You're injecting things into your face to look healthier to outwardly represent that your protocol is what you say it is. And then the measurements themselves, it sounds like, you can either achieve similar results or there's some arbitrariness in terms of what you're actually measuring.
Yeah.
So yeah, and what's he's spending like $2 million a year? That was the big thing that he
says he's spending $2 million a year. And to be fair, he's doing a lot of things right.
Yeah.
He's prioritizing his sleep. I don't know if he's thinking about light. He's prioritizing his sleep. He's completely cut out processed foods. Yeah. He doesn't drink alcohol. He doesn't drink coffee, for what it's worth. And he's thinking about things. And he lives in a very, his house has like air filters. He's doing a lot of things right. But I think that there are some pieces of his protocol that I think need to be questioned. And I don't think enough people are really calling it into question, because that's what it is. It's respectful conversation. When I offer a different protocol, like an animal-based diet, people are obviously going to debate it and question it. And that's what it's about. Defend your idea. Defend your ideas.